Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hello, everybody. Back with another episode. I hope you guys are all doing well in the fall as we slide into the holiday season. Got another guest. Want you guys to meet her. She is a really cool person who hails from Florida. Met this young lady at the credit union near my house, my pad, my crib. Real cool person. I'm not going to give her a long introduction. I'm just going to go ahead and introduce her. Her name is Taylor. Say hello to everyone, Taylor.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and do the show.
Yeah, you shocked me. You when I was in there, you were like, I'll do your podcast. And I'm like, huh? I was like, oh, okay. And I think it was Danya was like, yeah, I don't think she's even heard an episode. Nope, I haven't heard an episode, but I'll do it. I'm like, all righty. Okay. So
I have heard an episode or two now, so.
Oh, okay. What episodes did you hear? I'm curious.
I listened to your first one, and then I was listening to the one with Plez.
I knew you were going to say that. Everyone always say, you hear that, Plez? I'm sure he's going to listen. He listens all the time. Yeah, everyone says Plez. I'm like, really? I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, that's not a knock, but, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. Well, there's more out there for you to listen to.
Oh, yeah, I'm going through them.
Okay. All right. Well, you know how this podcast works, Miss Taylor. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
Well, I want to preface this by saying, and I'm sure it's been said plenty of times before, it is never too late to be what you want to be when you grow up. We're always growing up, I feel like, so there's that. But just when I was younger, I wanted to be a lawyer originally.
Oh my gosh, you're like the third lawyer. Yeah.
Of course, it's the thing to do. It's the thing to do.
Apparently.
Growing up.
Yeah.
It's either that or doctor, and I was never really into the medical aspect of anything, so, lawyer it was. And I have an older brother who did want to be a lawyer and ended up being a lawyer, so he is a lawyer to this day, and that's probably what changed my path. I saw him go through it, and I'm like, I'm not really sure. A lot of reading, a lot of schooling.
How much older is he than you?
He's about 12 years older than me.
Oh, okay. So you watched him like as a kid, with him as an adult, kind of, sort of, right? I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we being that we have a big age gap from, I don't have a lot of younger memories, but he was always in college and then law school and then his internship and stuff like that. So I don't have a lot of memories of him in the household with me because he was always off to school. He would come home for breaks and things like that. But I just saw how much it took. And I'm like, I'd really have to be passionate to do that. And I don't know if I eventually saw that. I don't know if I have that passion to want to do that. Yeah. So power to him for actually doing it, It definitely was a good inspiration, but it made me realize that that's maybe not where my passion was.
How old were you when you realized that?
Oh, who knows? It went from that to then everybody else really wanted me to be a teacher because just the way I was always writing on my walls, pretending to play school in my room, getting in trouble for writing on my walls. So everybody always told me.
You're trying to teach a lesson? Okay, I'm like writing on your walls. What does that have to do with being a teacher?
I was the teacher. My walls were my dry erase board. And my stuffed animals were probably my students, things like that. Funny. So everybody always told me I should be a teacher, but I never saw that as something I wanted to do when I grew up. So it eventually just changed to just wanting to write. So eventually learning that was journalism, writing in the paper or writing just to write.
I get it.
So that was probably, I want to say maybe middle school, going into high school age.
That is when life that's when the storybook stuff, and that's not to knock anyone's dream of what they wanted to be as kids, but it seems to me with most people, including myself, that's when whatever you thought you wanted to be kind of shifts to now you got some interest, or at least you think you do you have interest for that age for junior high,
Of course.
because you still don't have to go out and get the student loan or whatever it is to make that dream happen. And put in the time. So junior high, you're shifting gears. You want to write.
So I saw me writing on my walls more as just writing, not being a teacher and all that stuff. So then going into high school, I went into yearbook and that aspect of things. And I ended up liking that. I liked it, but again, do I want to make a living out of it? Do I want to make a career out of it? Those things start to come into question once you're in high school now.
What deterred you from it? What were the cons in your mind at that time with not wanting to go into journalism?
Just really not knowing what you could actually do with it,
I got you.
Being in that awkward time of newspapers are kind of fading out, internet's kind of taking over. Where is the journalism route going to actually end up? Things that I liked are going to be obsolete kind of things. Right.
What year is this? Because you just said something important, because, you got all ages listening to this.
So I graduated high school in 2011. So,
okay. Yeah. No, that does.
So that high school age was where, MySpace came into the picture, and we're starting to see all these social media things and internet take over, and seeing the paper go away. Okay, well, if there's no newspaper, who's writing, So not really knowing how big the internet's going to be at that time.
Yeah, so that's very good. That's a very strong statement, because a lot of people go, well, no, the internet was around, but not as it is today. It was still evolving quickly. Especially, no one knew what social media was going to be. That was back when all the commercials for dating online and all that, what is it, eHarmony and all those things. Yeah, like I think everyone took it serious because you could make money off of it. I think you could shop off of it at that time, but it's not like now. Like, you can shut countries down without internet now.
Oh, yeah. And we also didn't have it at our fingertips like we do now. It used to be AOL. You can't be on the phone and be on the internet at the same time, so you have to.
Oh yeah.
So all that comes into a factor. So that was kind of like, well, if I do want to do journalism, what am I going to do? I'm not going to make yearbooks my whole life. So what do I actually want to do with that? But I did go into college with journalism as my original major, just trying to, gauge what I could do with it. See maybe if the classes would direct me in some kind of way, but that doesn't always stick either.
Yeah, no, trust me, I know. Okay, so journalism was starting to kind of fade off. It sounds like you were really interested, but you didn't have someone to go, well, at this time we have these avenues within that field that you can go into, right? Like, direction is it sounds like direction at that time was what you needed. You had a bit of a passion for it, and I would imagine just from talking to you, even probably had some talent behind you as well, but direction, and with direction comes reality, I believe. And without that, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a short route for most.
Yeah, and not for nothing, but, college costs money. So when you're going through college with no direction, it becomes like, okay, well, am I wasting my money? Am I wasting my time? A little bit of both. Mm-hmm. So it comes from, well, now I'm working and I'm seeing money. Do I need college? Because college is costing me money. Work is making me money,
And what was work?
So I was just in retail when I first got into the work field from 16, doing retail.
Where did you work?
So my first job was called Dots. It was a women's clothing store in Florida. Not sure if it expanded up to like Georgia or California or anything like that, but it's most similar to like a Rainbow type of store. So it was like discount women's clothing, and that was my first job.
Oh, okay.
And then from there, I went to Crazy 8, which was a kids' clothing store.
Oh, I remember that place. I don't think they're in business anymore, but
No.
when we got here, they weren't in business. But yeah, they were in business in California. Yeah, they had that in Valencia.
They were a part of Gymboree, so they were like a sister
Right.
brand of them.
Right. Man, Crazy 8. So many little
Yep.
brands that you forget about, or stores that you forget about from the past that have been,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, Dots isn't around, Crazy 8's not around, so... and then from there, I went to Stride Rite, which is also not around anymore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they've been gone.
So all these retail stores, and that was an uncertainty at one point, was working retail, because that's when, again, the internet comes through and Amazon comes through and Prime, and, oh, I can get it in 2 days and I don't have to go to the store, and all that starts to factor into everything.
Yeah. Did you get into management while you were in retail?
Yes, I was in management.
Ah,
So,
okay. So yeah, you guys cared about your. Trust me, I know your UPT. What was it? Your units per transaction. I mean, obviously your sales, but
Yeah.
the credit card, if they had one. Like there were all these things, these measurables that they wanted a daily number on with conference calls with Express and Bath and Body. Well, they're the same company. And then conversion, which was my favorite thing to complain about. Did you guys have to worry about conversion?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I've never really had to go through like a conversion.
No. What I mean is conversion was
yes.
people coming in the store
Yes.
and buying something versus looky-loos.
Don't get me wrong, retail was great money, and that's kind of what happened that took me off the path of college.
Yeah, same
Because
here.
as I'm going through college, but I'm working retail, I'm seeing I can make money without this college. So it got to, okay, I'd rather go to work than take this class. I'd rather get more hours than go here. So it became a point of more about the money than about
How old
what I
were
was
you?
going towards. 18, 19,
Oh, okay.
just about.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was probably like with 2 semesters into college that I was starting to say, okay, well, go towards the money. A little bit about my upbringing is, my parents, they always were able to provide for us. We never needed for anything. We always had what we needed. But there were fights about money, behind closed doors kind of thing that we overheard. So now that I'm 18, 19 years old, I'm just seeing I don't want to be that. I don't want to be struggling with money. I don't want money to be an issue.
Right.
So it's, do I go where the money is, or do I go where I'm spending money not knowing what I'm doing with it? So I
Yeah.
went towards the money. I'm like, okay, I can always pick college back up. College will always be there.
I gotcha. I'm waiting for the.
Oh,
No. You say college will always be there, but my question is, but will you be willing to come back to it? Everything you're saying literally is a mirror image of me, of what I felt. My manager at the time at Express, one day we were just talking about goals, like how we're talking right now. And I said, she goes, yeah, I want to be a district manager and then regional. And I said, do you ever notice the age of these people? And you could see her kind of snarl. And she's like, well, what do you mean? She knew exactly what I meant. And I said, well, I don't know. I said, we're both in our 20s, right? And she's like, yeah. I said, you don't see anybody over 50 years old working for Express unless they're like in the office, the home office in Ohio, like real corporate, like VP and all that. I said, why do you think that is? And she's like, I don't know. And I said, well, I don't know, but I think I do know. I said, people find better jobs. Like they move on. And she was like, no, I'm going to be in retail. She ended up opening her own bakery back in California, has moved on to writing romance novels that you can find at every Target, which blew my mind. I was walking one day and I'm like, Her name is Abby Jimenez. She's still a friend of mine, and now people are going to go to Target. Abby has books. Yeah, she has a series of books. I was like, but yeah, I understand what you're saying as far as chasing the money. I would imagine you weren't thinking about buying a house off of the retail money at 18, 19.
Oh, no. I was more worried about, let me get out of my parents' house. Let me go do this with my friends. Let me go buy this,
Yep. Yeah.
I'm 18, 19 years old. I wasn't focused, like you said, on buying a house or anything like that. That was the furthest thing from my mind.
Yeah, I was just focused on going to Vegas and partying, and we can go to Cheesecake Factory whenever we want. I can anyway. My friends,
Yeah, exactly.
my friends all still had crap jobs. Like they weren't. No, they were still doing. Oh man, yeah. I was college student rich, and yeah, I remember walking out of that college for the last time at the end of a semester, fall semester, knowing I was never coming back, but lying to myself at the same time, saying, No. I got to register by such and such date. But in my heart, knowing, I think this is the last time you're going to walk down this sidewalk out the front and go get your car off the street. And it was so depressing, but relieving because, like you said, I'm like, all I've done is free myself up to work even more hours and make more money. So I'm not going to lose. I can always, like you said, you just set me on a tangent because you said something. College will always be there. Like, I can go back. That's what everyone tells themselves. Things happen. But, okay.
Yeah, not for nothing. A lot of my childhood friends, not all of them, but a lot of them had mom and dad to be able to financially support them. And, like I said, I had what I needed, but that was it. If I wanted to go to a concert with my friends, I couldn't say, hey, mom, dad, can you buy me this concert ticket?
Oh, yeah, no.
I had to buy that concert ticket, so...
I never thought of asking my parents could have.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they would have because we're just, as you were probably raised the same way I was. If you wanted something extra out of this life, and there's no knock on parents, I think it's the way it should be. If you want something extra, you go get it,
Yeah.
You go make the extra money. You don't wait for your parents to do it because eventually your parents want to retire and they can't afford you anymore. Now you want adult stuff,
Yeah, and the older you get, the more expensive the things you want get too.
So you're making your own money. You're riding the high life of retail. And then...
And like I said, it just kept going from there. So, working in the mall, and I'm sure you've seen it, as you're working in the mall, you meet other people who work in the mall. So you see them all the time.
Yeah.
And you get recruited from one store to the next, to the next. Yeah. So then eventually I get to AT&T, where AT&T is very commission-based. So I'm making even more money now. And it's great. So it's, okay, put college on the back burner. Did my AA just to get my AA.
Same here.
Put college on the back burner, because like I said to myself, it'll always be there. And then just keep doing sales and keep bringing in the money. And then eventually it just got to a point where, okay, now I'm sick of this. Now what? I don't have that passion to say, hey, I want to be a lawyer. Let me go back to college or let me go back to college, but I still don't know what I want to do. So what am I going back for? So yes, college is always going to be there, but if you don't have a passion or you don't know what you're going for, what's the point? And I think it's important for even the younger listeners to know, even as an adult, I think it's a little crazy to expect somebody to know what they want to do at 18. I mean, power to the people who do and stick with it. But at 18, I was a completely different person than I am now.
Oh, yeah.
So to expect everybody to know what they want to do by 18, 19 years old and stick to it,
I haven't met a person yet that stuck to it. And I mean, I know that we've all met them or heard about them from their parents bragging or, whatever it is. But yeah, I've never met one personally. Everyone's shifted gears and, went a slightly
like I said, my older brother, he's probably the only one I know. I've only heard him talk about being a lawyer, and he made that. My other brothers, so I have two brothers. They're both older. my other brother, he went to college, did all of it, and he was still working at the same company that he was when he was in high school. So yeah, I'm sure his degree may have helped him, along the way for his position where he is, but the way I see it, he could have possibly gotten to that position just working through it. I never really thought about banking or anything. And one of my friends who had also been in retail a long time, she came to the mall and I saw her and I was asking her how everything was going because I haven't seen her. She used to work at a shoe store. And she's like, good. I work at a bank now. And I was like, oh, how do you like it? She's like, I love it. 9 to 5 hours, no holidays, no weekends. I'm like, oh, that sounds great.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm going to have to look into this.
Yeah. Like I didn't even care about the pay when I started hearing about jobs that you can make a decent, living from and you're off every weekend. I'm like, that's
Yep.
The job isn't that great when they actually put that in the ad for it, off every weekend. It's like, ooh, it's like, a motel that says color TV.
Oh, I'll take it.
Oh, yeah. And holidays. Yeah. It's like the majority of the world is off on the weekends. I mean, outside of a certain income.
Right.
Yeah. Or if you're going to work the weekends, have it be extra, not just your normal. Hey, I mean, now, again, I'm probably crapping on my point because now I'm thinking of all these commission-based jobs. I know I used to work for a new home builder, KB Home, and if you didn't work the weekend, yeah, right, you weren't going to make anything. You had to. It was retail all over again, but anyway.
Right.
Yeah. But so you're thinking about the bank and...
Yeah, so I was thinking about the bank and, also from movies and stuff, we get this impression bankers make bank. Quote unquote,
Yeah,
bankers make banks. So
Yeah.
let me look into these jobs. So I start looking at the big boys, Wells Fargo, Chase, all these things, and I go on Indeed. I think it was just looking, didn't expect anything, and then all of a sudden I see this is when I was in Florida, and then I see a credit union. I pull it up. I see it's like less than a mile from where I was living. I was like, no way. They're looking for a position. I'm like, okay. The position's been posted for like 2 months. I'm like, oh, so they might be desperate. I might have a chance, because like you said, I had been in retail this whole time. I have no banking experience.
Right.
So why are they going to look at me and my resume?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, they might be a little bit desperate. This is my chance. So put in my application. 2-3 months, I didn't hear anything. I think I got to a point where I forgot about it completely. I forgot that I even applied. And then I get a call one day out of the blue saying, hey, can you interview? And I said, sure. But they said, can you interview this Friday or something? And it was like a Tuesday. And I was like, well, my only day off this week is Wednesday. And then I won't be off for another week. And they're like, oh, well, we can have you come in tomorrow. I was like, perfect. I'll come in tomorrow. But at the time in retail, hair color was not an issue. So I had pink hair.
I was going to say, I'm like, well, what hair color were you working with? Okay.
Yep. So I was in this weird transition of changing my hair color, and I had pink hair at the time by accident. So I'm like, oh, crap. Now I have a bank interview tomorrow with pink hair. What am I going to do?
Right.
So, only thing I can do, just go buy some black hair dye and just dye my hair black.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is not even going to look good. I'm like, I'm not going to get this job. So I feel like the universe is aligning against me at this point. I go interview. It took a few days, and then all of a sudden I hear back that I got the offer. And so credit unions are a little bit different than banks, some of them, whereas most of the time banks, you have your actual bankers who do loans and things like that, and you have people who are just tellers. Well, at this credit union that I was previously with, everybody did all of the same things. So I got a little nervous. I was like, I know nothing about banking. I think at this time I was 23 years old. I was like, I know nothing about banking, mortgages, this, that, and the other. So I was like, okay, I'm psyching myself out a little bit. But I was like, you know what? I'll just take the dive. So they offered me the position. I start working, and I ended up really liking it. It helped me learn a lot personally about finances, things they don't teach you in school, finances, credit.
Yeah. I would imagine so.
loans, all these things, so it became like a blessing in disguise. Like, I'm helping better myself not only with this job, but with the education of my financial health, of how to set myself up for the future, And honestly, I mean, we have some young ones that work with us, 19, 20 years old, and their friends look at them like, oh, you have such a big person job. Like, that's an adult job. And I mean, it honestly, you learn a lot. I mean, if you can at a young age, even if it's not something you want to do when you get older, I would encourage, look into it if it's even remotely interesting to you, because you will learn a lot, even personally, that you could take with you long after you're gone from there. I can't tell you how many things I learned at the credit union that I'm like, oh, nobody ever told me about that. Or I've always heard this about this, but apparently that's wrong. This is how you should do it.
Yeah.
And I think we all kind of get to this point where we, as an adult, look at credit like, oh, that's scary. Loans, that's scary. Everybody always tells you don't do it. It's a bad idea because it's scary. It's not scary. It's just because we're not educated about it, because nobody thinks that this is important.
Fear and ignorance run together. They definitely do. Yeah. Keeps people in their place.
In high school, I took a marketing class, and they somewhat taught you about finances. But I remember being told specifically, if you get a credit card and cut it up and don't use it, that's going to help your credit. That's not necessarily true. I mean, yeah, you have a credit card, but you're not paying on it. So it's not showing any history. So that's not really going to help you. So just seeing how things really work, it's like debunking a lot of things I thought I knew.
Yeah, no, I believe that. I believe that. Now, let me ask you this. I think you kind of already have told it. If people are paying attention, especially young people, did you need a degree to get this job?
I did not.
Exactly.
And
I'm not against degrees. I'm just saying there are careers out there that if you work your butt off for as much hard work and knowledge you've put in, where do you think, parallel that to if you're still working for AT&T?
I mean, I think I would still be stuck in that retail world, just the never-ending cycle of let me go to this store because they're offering me more money. Let me go to this store because they're offering me more money. Just the never-ending cycle.
Yeah, no.
And it's not to knock retail, like you said. You can make great money. There are managers and district managers, but it just takes a lot of you physically, mentally, emotionally, and especially if you get to the point where, like you said, you have kids and things.
Yeah.
You don't want to be working holidays when you have kids at home.
Yeah.
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 It like I said, it takes a toll on you, and it's definitely a good learning experience, a great starting point.
You learn people. You do.
Oh, you for sure do. But I couldn't see myself continuing to do that. I wasn't passionate about it.
Yeah.
To say the least. So never in a million years would I have thought about banking and loans and things and put my name next to that.
How long?
I don't think I would have ever associated that. I've been in 7 going on 8 years now.
Nice.
So my old credit union, I pretty much did everything except for loans. So we did like account maintenance, wires, transactions, all the basic stuff. We just didn't do loans. So now at this credit union, now I do loans. So I process those HELOCs that you said sound so scary.
Yeah, you said the scary word again. I don't know what that is. But yes, I do. I'm an adult. Shut up, Keith. Yeah. HELOC, double HELOC. I'm like, yeah.
And I just keep learning more. And not only that, but you also unfortunately see people get themselves into these financial situations that I take personally and I learn from, because I don't want to end up being in that position that this person was, or this is how this person got scammed. Now I know in the future not to do this,
Yeah. I would imagine you see, I don't know what level you're working on with loans. Are you doing, let's talk about it. Do you do business loans, or you do any loan, any kind of loan someone needs, or how does that work?
So I do business loans up to a certain dollar amount, because after that it would go to my actual business department. Personal loans, real estate, like HELOCs and second mortgages, equity loans, things like that, credit cards, auto loans. So anything on the front end, we have a different loan officer that is particularly for first mortgages. So that's what I don't do.
Oh, okay.
And then if it's like a fleet for a business, that would go to my business department as well. But pretty much anything else is what I would be able to process.
I see. That's cool though. So 8 years in the bank, you're doing loans. Sounds like you're happy.
Oh yeah, it's even made me question if I do want to go back to school and do something more on the number side, like accounting or
that's what I was about to say.
Things like
lateral
that.
move. Yeah.
So, I mean, right now, like you said, I am very happy in what I do. I like being able to help people in their time of need, because a lot of times when people need a loan, it's because they need something. So being able to help people, like you said, talk to people, see different walks of life, people in different parts of their life, people from 18 starting to build their credit to people who are 73 and have done everything that under the sun, just seeing all the different walks of life and seeing what people do for a living. And that's one of my favorite parts, honestly.
I hear you there. I agree.
Is very similar to your podcast, I've had people where they're a pilot and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like, are you private pilot? Are you corporate pilot? And just hearing their stories and
exactly. Yeah.
It's pretty fun. You get to learn people on a personal level and see what they do. And like, I've seen people making $100 an hour and I'm like, oh my goodness, there's people that are really making that in this world,
Oh yeah.
like.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, there definitely is. You probably see some irresponsibility, I would imagine, that you don't expect to see at a certain age, like the 50-year-old whose credit is shot, or
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
And you took the thought out of my head. I was going to mention it, but it's the people that walk in dressed like your average Joe, driving the nice new Kia that have 200 plus thousand in the bank. But the one pulling up in a Tesla in a suit is the one who's negative 5,000 in their account.
Bananas. Yeah, man. I don't know what that is.
I have learned to oppositely judge people.
Yep.
They say don't judge a book by its cover. So now I do the opposite. If I see somebody walking with these big gold chains and all this jewelry, I'm thinking, oh, they have no money.
Yeah.
I see the man, dressed, nicely, pair of jeans, T-shirt. I'm like, oh, he probably makes way more money than that guy.
Yeah, because he doesn't care. He's so past caring because he has it.
Yeah, look at, what's his name, Zuckerberg.
Oh, yeah, yeah. He's
You
young.
would never know.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know how young he is. But yeah, no, it's the way that it's a confidence and it's a way that they carry themselves.
Also, another thing that I've learned too is you can have over an 800 credit score and still get denied for a loan.
Wow, really? No, I didn't know that. What? How?
Yeah,
like lack of real history, or?
So credit's not always everything. Credit weighs a lot on a lender, but especially when you work with small lenders like at credit unions, because you have that conversation with that lender, that loan officer. So we understand your story. We factor your story into consideration. So we look at multiple things, but the biggest thing is debt to income. So for anybody who's listening who doesn't necessarily understand what that means, it's how much you're paying out in bills versus what you're taking in every month. So people don't realize, just because I'm affording it or just because I'm doing it doesn't mean you're in a good debt to income percentage. So I had a guy apply the other day, over 800 credit score, makes decent money. I don't remember the exact number, but let's say about $5,000 a month. And we didn't approve him for a vehicle loan because his debt to income was over where we want it to be. And what happens with that is if you keep getting approved for these loans, then eventually you are underwater because now you're having to pay out more than you're making.
Yeah, you can't.
So you're putting your you're suffocating yourself. Or what some people do is they'll rely on credit cards. They'll be like, oh, don't worry, I'll just put it on a credit card this month. Well, now that's even increasing, and now you're getting the interest on that, and it's a snowball effect. So, I tell everybody now it's so important to look at your finances, because now I see how important it is not only about your credit score, but about what you're actually spending. how much you're putting out. People think, oh, I make money, I have over 800 credit score, I can walk in and they can give me whatever I want. That's not necessarily true, and I've seen it.
Yeah, worst case scenario, they give it to you. Now you got to try to pay for that too. I do pretty decent. I'm not making 500 a year, but I do pretty good. And even for me, like anytime the suggestion of credit comes up, just in conversation, I'm like, nope. I don't want to have to pay another thing. Like I'm trying to knock my debt to income ratio down. Now I kind of knew what you're saying is true, but I think I knew it out of my own common sense. I was like, well, yeah, they'll give it to us, but honestly, I don't think we'll be able to float that and float what we're trying to do down the line. So one thing I'm trying to do, really been kicking this around, is buying a second property for rental income. And it doesn't have to be anything. I know what I'm doing because I used to do real estate. So I'm not looking on the shores of Destin, not anymore. But I am looking at certain places and things, with the election finally over. Ooh, I did want to ask you this. Do you guys see, or have you had a conference call or anything? That's very important because we got some people on both sides of the table. We all know that, that believe things are going to turn around or things. I mean, I'm not asking you to be the wise old fortune teller, but with credit union, with credit rates, with interest rates, I'm trying to say, are you guys seeing, from corporate or from whoever, are they thinking that things are going to start going lower? Is the Fed talking about lowering interest rates to get things flowing again? I mean, they can't just lower the price of milk right away. We know that. But, and for people who think all of a sudden the prices are going to fall on stuff, not necessarily so. It takes time in any economy. But have you guys, like everyone else, been watching and saying, now what?
So we did actually have a rate update yesterday. Rates did go slightly down. Prime rate, it now went down 0.25%. So now prime is at 7.75%. So that more so affects credit cards and HELOCs, things like that. We did have a slight dip in auto loans and like marine loans, RV loans, things like that. But the main was the prime rate drop. It did already drop. And I was very shocked because this is my first year working as a loan officer, during election time or during, big change time. So yeah. I was surprised that there was such a quick drop, Yeah. So they did change already. So we don't know, what the next year is going to hold. But as of right now, they did drop. And I will say this past year, with rates where they were, people did not want to buy. They did not want to do loans. So they were kind of shying away. So we're going to get to a point where we do see like a big influx.
Yeah. People don't want to, I mean, certain people, I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to get political, but this stuff is real. When money is too expensive to borrow, and not just for the consumer, for the regular consumer like you and me, but companies don't borrow. Companies, the evil rich people they talk about, they don't use their own money. That's the other thing I learned too. They don't use their own money. They're not going to use their yacht money. No, they borrow just like everyone else most of the time, unless it does them a better service to just buy the building cash, because I did have a lot of cash buyers when I was doing commercial real estate. Yeah, that stuff is important. So if money is cheaper to lend, it pushes that's how prices get lower eventually. It's very complicated. That's a whole nother topic for a podcast, but I was just curious. I was just curious on what you guys had seen at your level. Are they trying to start to drop rates? And I mean, no one, like you just said, we'll see what it looks like in the next year. I don't know. I don't know, but I know I'm watching because I don't want to get into something now and then, end of fourth quarter hits and everyone's, hey, Trump, Trump in February after he takes office. He goes, you know what? 5%. I'll be like, oh, like that's where now I'm telling what's in my heart. That's what I feel. I was talking to my dad about this before the election was over. And I said, he's going to do something if he wins that will make people go, oh, he's back in office. I said, now, if she wins, same thing. The woman knew, she knew people, I won't say didn't want her, but she knew she was going to have to do something opposite of what had happened the last 3.5 years with her partner in office. So she was going to have to do, I told my dad, he goes, you're waiting? I said, yeah, I'm waiting. I said, I want to see what she does if they get her into office. I said, she's going to have to do something opposite. I said, because she was a part of the problem. No one can deny that. I think that's realistically why she lost. Says she's going to have to do something because she's not going to down the guy and say, yeah, he was a crazy old man. I don't know what he was thinking. She'll do it with her actions if she's smart, or her people will tell her to, and she'll have to lower the rate for a while, And he's like, yeah, there might be some truth to that. I said, yeah, I think so. I said, but I think both sides, whoever gets in office is going to have to lower that rate to get the economy going again. I said, they can't raise it. We know that, she wouldn't raise it. I know that. I mean, she wants to get reelected if she had gotten in, but, yeah, I don't know.
Back to what you were saying about purchasing an investment property. I mean, if you can, definitely do it. But what I didn't realize, growing up is people purchase land. And I'm like, well, what's the point of purchasing land? Growing up, I'm like, why purchase land? What are you going to do? Roll around in it? Like, I didn't see the point in buying land if you weren't going to build. But now I'm seeing there's these big companies offering these people millions of dollars for their land so they can build on it.
Yeah, that's for
you can spend $10,000 on the land and sell it for $1 million, and now you're making some money because you sold that to them and they're giving you cash for it.
I agree. Depending on where you buy.
Right.
I got hip to that back in California right before I moved. They're always selling land, right? But, on TV, what was it? You wanted to buy land that, some company knew, or found out there was oil on or something like that. That's always the cliche on sitcoms back. Now I'm really dating myself. I'm not talking about the Beverly Hillbillies. But no, I realized there were these guys that had enough money that they would play Monopoly and they would just look at something and go, you know what? I want that plot of land over there. And they would buy it. It wouldn't be 10 grand. It'd be a little more than that. But they would buy it and they could afford to hold it. They're still paying taxes on it, whatever it is. They could afford it though. They could afford that, to do that with. I see that a lot when I'm driving from between here and Florida. I'm like, I always point out to my wife, I'm like, see over there. I go, look at the new homes that are in Ocala or something. Like off in the distance, I'm like, see, if I had loot like that, I said, man, I would just boom, 100 grand, just buy it and hold it. I said, they're coming in that direction. It'll be 10 years from now, but they're coming in that direction. I know they are. And it's the same here in Canton. A lot I know from doing retail with not working in retail, but selling retail shopping centers and things. A lot of this stuff that we're seeing going up finally, like the Arby's beside you and the Chick-fil-A, that stuff was mapped out 5 years ago. It takes time. California is way worse because they won't pass anything permit-wise, or the government wants their money. They're so corrupt. It'd be even further out, 8 years out sometimes. So buying land is cool. There was a guy down in Noonan, Georgia, that used to work at one of the Targets, and one of those people. He was older, and he did well for himself, but he was, I don't know, he told me some story. He was bored, so he just got a job doing that. But he owned land in a couple of places alongside the freeways down there. And he was like, yeah, man, I sold this one for 200,000. They're going to put a gas station there. I bought it for 5,000. I'm like, really? I go, how did you know? Like, was it for sale? No, but somebody owned it. I just called up the city planner and gave him the area, and he mapped it down. And yeah, I don't remember how he got the owner's information, but yeah, the guy was just like, oh, thank God somebody wants to buy this thing. I bought it. And here's the flip side. I bought it 20 years ago. He told me, the seller told him, no one's come for it. No Richie Rich story of, hey, I'll give you $1 million. I have to have this land. He just bought a rock and he's just chilling and he's still paying taxes. So yeah, you run into that. I don't know. Do you see a lot of land deals coming through these days at the credit union?
Oh yeah. I mean, especially like you said in Canton, because Canton's just building up more and more. And we actually have a member who recently sold part of her land to one of these big companies for over $1 million.
Wow.
Because they want to put a shopping center or whatever that they're going to do there.
Is this along highway, along 140 or?
Honestly, I'm not 100% sure where this one is.
Okay.
But I want to say probably somewhere in that area.
Has to be, yeah. Well, no,
but yeah, I mean, 2 million or over $1 million just for selling land that you don't have. I mean, I don't know what she bought it for, but I know it for sure wasn't $1 million.
Yeah.
So, you're profiting. And I don't know if you ever go the other way on going down East Cherokee, going over Hickory.
Yeah.
Where they're doing all that construction. Now, there was a house right there. So I don't know what they got, but I'm sure they got a pretty penny too, because that whole area is becoming a plaza. So
yeah,
anyone who's even somewhat remotely interested in real estate, whether it's land or property, houses, whatever the case is, definitely take it seriously, because anybody I see that makes money, they have their primary source of income, but 9 out of 10 times dabble in real estate, even if it's not their primary.
Do you hear that, people? So I'm not making this up.
No, I mean, I have a lot of people who do have a rental property, or like you said, they've had land that they've sold for a profit, So a lot of times these people who are making money, a lot of times they do have some type of real estate going on in the background. So, I would educate yourselves about it. Don't just dive in head first. Educate yourselves about it. But if you even remotely interested, I say go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine you're going to start seeing a lot of people, if those rates go down a lot further into next year, you're going to start seeing a lot of people with those kinds of ideas. I know for myself, I got started, people have heard my story. I got started a little late for doing what I do and just retirement and things like that. And people think I sound crazy. I go, no, I know where my quality of life, where I want it to be when I'm older, and I'm going to have to kind of have some rental income. I've already decided. I'm fine with it. I know, because I would see these older people that did it when I was doing residential AC. They owned the factories. They owned a couple of homes. Oh, you're going to my home in such and such in North Hollywood after this? And I'm like, oh, you got another house? And they're renting it. They're renting it out to someone. I couldn't even imagine the rent. I mean, you're talking over $10,000 a month on those properties for rent. Ooh. Oh yeah, big time. But yeah, no, that stuff is all real.
And you're never too young or too old to talk to a financial planner, financial advisor.
Do you guys offer this there at the credit
union? We do.
Oh,
and a lot of times they do offer free meetings if you're like a member or a customer. If you're with like a big bank like Wells Fargo, you're a customer. But you're never too young or too old to get yourself on track to either early retire or just be ready to retire when you're supposed to retire. Just set yourself up for success. I had a young girl come in one time and I helped her open an account, and she just thanked me because I treated her like any other person. Because she was younger, she said her experience walking into like these big banks like Wells Fargo and Chase, they would just kind of disregard her, thinking, oh, she's young, she just wants an account or whatever. Turns out she's young, but she had some money. She had about $10,000 that she brought over to the bank, and she just thanked me for treating her normal, which I don't see why anybody else would because of age, but other places look down on her because of her age. They're like, oh, you're young, you don't have anything, you know, you're not going to do anything for us.
Yeah, why waste my time on you? Yeah, no,
right. And
that.
Turns out she's looking to invest. She's, you know, trying to plan her retirement, you know, so you're never too young to start. And that's part of what I didn't get growing up. Like, I love my parents, but they didn't teach me about credit or loans or anything like that. So like I said, everything that I've learned has come from working in it and seeing it, either from other people or personally experiencing it.
That's awesome. Well, we will draw this to a close. But I have a couple of questions as we go out. We'll try to make them quick. I'm trying to, just so people know, you know, I do a lot of stuff in post-production where I'll kind of shorten things up because I know I go off on rants. And if you think I go off on rants with what you hear, oh boy, it was another half hour or 40 minutes. And I'll take the credit.
In your head, right?
Yeah, most of the time. No, in actuality, when the raw footage, we'll call it, yeah, it'll be an hour and 50 minutes. And I used to, I'm kind of peeling the curtain back a bit, but I would get off with that person and go, bam, that was, yeah, oh man, I don't have to edit anything. And then something, I don't remember which episode, but something caught me by the collar and said, go to bed, work on it tomorrow. Just listen to it tomorrow and tell me if you think the same thing. I didn't even have to wait that long. It would be like 4 or 5 hours later. I'd go, I didn't need to talk about the district manager not being old and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, just cut that out. And I would just, and yeah, last episode, my buddy Frank, I think that episode's down to like an hour and 10 minutes. And yeah, no, we were on the phone for an hour and 50. So I'm trying to get better, people. Okay. I like to talk.
I was going to say that's what happens with conversation, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, there's some podcasts I listen to that are 3 hours, but that's because of my job. Like, I'll be driving to Atlanta at 9 a.m. or something, and I got time, you know.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I don't listen to music. Only time I listen to music in the car is when I have my family with me and we're driving to Florida. I just wait for them to fall asleep, and then I put my podcast on because I don't want to hear Dua Lipa and Tate McRae and Camila Cabello or whoever.
And Taylor Swift?
Yeah.
You mean you're not a Swiftie?
I'm not a, no. I love, yeah, I'm a Swiftie. Get Taylor Swift on the podcast. I've learned that's another thing. I'm like, I'm not downing anybody by name except for maybe P. Diddy. But yeah,
oh,
no.
Gosh.
Yeah, I don't think I got to worry about him for quite a while, you know? Maybe one of his kids, but
yeah.
No, I was going to ask, have you ever had a job so bad? It may be a day, it may be the entire time you were there, but did you ever have a time, we'll call it that, where you forgot, the job was so bad, the task was so bad, you forgot you were actually getting paid to do this?
I don't think I ever forgot I was getting paid. I think that was my sole motivation for, you know, getting through it. It's always keep in the back of your mind, I get paid for this.
Yeah.
I get paid for this. You know, but there's those days that it gets you and you're like, I don't get paid enough for this.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I never forget, but I definitely always had it in the back of my mind. And if I ever got to the point where I'm like, I don't get paid enough for this, that's when I would start to switch gears and be like, okay, I need something else.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I used to work for a company, Autoland. I'll say them out loud. This is probably one of the worst jobs I ever had, selling cars over the phone.
Oof.
I'm dead serious. And they were they were a credit union based company. Coincidence. No, it wasn't
Not
a knock.
us.
They just found that they could form a relationship with credit unions and the credit unions would agree to it. Like, we would go to different credit union locations and there was always an Autoland, like rep, if you call them that, rep or salesman, just sitting in the bank. It was one of the most boring jobs ever. And I was in not a call center, but like their headquarter office in North Hollywood. And it was like 6 of us. And you would get these people who would call the bank, like call you for something with a loan. And they might say, I'm looking for it. It's terrible. They were a company. I think they might still be around, but not like they were. I know that last time I looked them up. They might mention that they want a car. And what you were supposed to do, Taylor, is go, well, would you like to speak to my Autoland agent? And they would go, oh, yes, I would love to buy a car over the phone. And this is before people were buying cars online. This was like, I won't say what year it was. It was later than it should have been in my life. I'm serious. There was a small period where I was really trying not to come back to refrigeration, HVAC, and I was willing to do almost anything. But yeah, no, I will never. You think, what's the first thought? Well, how do I test drive this car? You don't. Or they deliver it to you. You drive it around the corner with one of us. So there had to be 2 of us. It was this weird thing where the whole time I kept going to the people on my side, well, what if they just go to the car lot? What are we doing? Well, they can meet at the car lot. I go, then what? Wouldn't the car salesman kind of like go, forget this guy and meet me in 2 hours? And their answer always was, yeah, but they don't do that. And I go, what? I said, you see, this is a soft market that we're kind of operating in. And again, there was no online car sales. So it was just like this weird thing. Needless to say, it was, I think they gave you a draw and your commission. So you were supposed to pay back the draw, that hustle. You pay back the draw. That's a monthly stipend for folks that don't know, income-wise. And eventually the pitch is you're going to be balling out of control selling these cars over the phone, so much so that you pay back the draw, and now it's just all your money like it's supposed to be, but you're working on 100% commission. So there were a lot of days where I was just like, I don't even feel like I'm getting paid. I almost feel like I'm doing like I'm in jail. And I remember I quit because I got my one deal where this lady actually said, well, I would like to test drive the car. I live in West Covina. Can I go to the Toyota lot and do it there? And I said, definitely, because that's what they told me they could do. So they go to the Toyota lot, and this happened on a Saturday, and some other credit union person from our company was going to meet them there because it was so far away from my house. But they went to the wrong Toyota lot. Bought the car like I had been saying is possible, bought the car, and while they were in the process, they called me and said, hey, they're doing the paperwork for me. Thank you for this experience. And my manager called me and he goes, hey, just want to make sure everything's going okay because the credit union person rep says they haven't showed up yet. And I was like, oh, no, I talked to her. She's at the Toyota office such and such. And he goes, he starts cussing me out. He's like, what? She's at the other lot. And I said, oh. He goes, you know what they did? And I said, they pretended that they were a part of us so that they could get the sale. And he goes, this is terrible. You F this up and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I didn't want to be a jerk, but in my mind, I'm like, no, Dodo, like,
you messed it up.
This was possible. This can't be the first. I remember I did say, I said, this can't be the first time this has happened to you guys. They don't have to deal through you. You don't have anything securing the deal other than word of like honor system. And you're basing your whole income on that, like jobs that you are not going to own a house on. So yeah, that was my, that's just one of the many terrible jobs I had before I just went ahead and said I like money more than happiness and came back to refrigeration. But I don't know. Anything you would tell your 18-year-old self? It does not have to be career-based. It can be personal, like, hey, don't have pink hair, or maybe have more pink hair. I don't know. Pink leg hair. I don't know.
Definitely take financing more serious, like finances and understanding credit and stuff like that. I wish I would have gotten into that a lot sooner and like I mentioned before, looking into real estate a lot sooner because, years ago, it was a great market to buy. Right now, not necessarily, but,
Yeah.
That might change. But, there's times where it's good and bad, but I am at the age where I do kind of wish I had some type of like real estate or property behind me that I can either cash in on a rainy day or, like you said, if I want to build and Airbnb it or whatever the case is. So I just wish I would have looked into those things a little bit more when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have told my younger self to make sure I stayed in college because to this day, I don't really know what my major would have been. And I probably would have told myself, don't even do those 2 semesters in college if I really want to be, those few semesters that I did do, if I really want to be honest, because it was money that I didn't necessarily need to spend, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. It makes total sense. And there's a lot, I still, like you said, for our parents or the guy building the factory, you bet they didn't go to college or maybe you didn't say parents, but didn't go to college and all that stuff. I believe despite what they show us on TV, and again, I'm not anti-college, but despite what they show us on TV and, just in conversation, things you hear about but never see, oh, so-and-so just got out of med school and they're a doctor. And it's like, yeah, of course there's doctors around, but maybe it's my social class that I'm in and all races, white, black, whatever. Majority of people that's what made me do the podcast. Majority of people went to college for a while, kind of messed around and found out in a way. I like that phrase, by the way, but messed around and found out that, this ain't all it's cracked up to be, and went into a trade or went in like you. I consider the bank a trade. I consider retail a trade, maybe not one that you really, really want long term, outside of big box stores. But, they go into these things and do they have a degree? No, but they make, some people make, $200,000 a year managing certain stores and things like that. And they don't have a degree. You don't have a degree to fall back on, but you do have work. Well, that's the other thing. Then it falls back on work history. So yeah, I agree with you with, I don't know that college would have been the way to move for you at all. And that's your story.
On the flip side, I have a lot of friends who did get a degree in college and none of them are working in the field that their degree is in.
Oh, yeah.
So they got out of college and went into the workforce, but didn't need their degree. Or, one of my best friends recently married and had a baby. She went through college. Now she's a stay-at-home mom, So like you said, not knocking college, but I just don't want anybody to feel like it's a pressure that you have to go to college. Like it's the only way into the real world. It's not. And honestly, if you can do something, a trade school, you could do those in 18 months and have a profession like a plumber or an electrician. And those are all important jobs that you could do well with. So I don't think college is necessarily the answer for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. That again, doesn't knock it. I know having my kids, I often look at them and I'm like, I'm telling them to go to college, or so you gotta keep staying band so you can go get into a good college. And I'm always thinking like, but then what?
Yeah.
Cause how life can, not will, but can turn out. And it's like, I don't want them to look at me and go, Daddy, why do I have this debt? Or why, this was a waste of time. I'm working for this company interning and they're just going to go ahead and give me a position. I wouldn't even need it to college. And it's like, I know how real life still works. My whole point is kind of agreeing with yours. There's the perception of reality based on what they show us on TV and even watching college football and things like that. There's just the romanticism of you're supposed to go to college. Like I went to college and pledged a fraternity only because of all the movies I watched. Like I'm not joking. It was fun. Don't get me wrong. But clearly because I was like, well, no, this is what they did in all the cool 80s movies. Like, yeah, I want to be one of those dudes. Like, I want to party. Like, I mean, I'm just being honest. Yeah, that's all it was. Did I get anything from it other than that? Nope. I just got more lessons in life about people and the different types of people. And I think in this life, not to get all preachy, but that's what you're really learning. That's what you're learning still every day, just learning about people. But anyhow, all right. Well, thank you for your time, Miss Taylor. I won't rant anymore. This has been a pleasure. Share it with some folks, people out there, not just yourself. If you guys enjoy this podcast, share it with somebody. Tell them about it. Everyone's got an iPhone. Just go to Apple Podcasts, type in Grow Up Already, and you'll see my goofy mug in front of a bed of roses orchids. Yeah, orchids. And
just a little correction. We don't all have iPhones.
I know, I don't either. I say it, I'm trying to fake the funk so I can be one of those iPhone people. I don't like iPhones personally. I'm a snob. I won't go into that. I believe iPhone users just needed a phone, and that's all they wanted. Versus the other people still like to do things with their phone like that they would do with a laptop. And I will say this, and I'll end it. The one thing all my iPhone friends would tell me when we were still trying to do stuff with our phones, download this. I mean, everybody's streaming now, but even past that, PDF files and things. Now Apple's a little better, but probably 5-10 years ago, oh, my phone won't do that. Can you do it on yours real quick? And I go, oh, on the Samsung Note 4? Or
that you don't like?
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, or they go, oh, my phone can do that too, but I go, it can? Well, yeah, there's a workaround app because Apple won't let you do it, but you got to use this workaround thing, and then you go through this, and I go, but your phone's better than mine because, and they just wanted a phone. That in the end, many people would go, look, I just need a phone, okay? I don't want to do all that techie stuff, and I go, oh, well, there we go, okay, well, okay. Go for it. But again, not knocking it. I'm not going to yuck your yum. That's cool if that's what you want. But anyhow, hey, thank you for your time. I'll tell you, share it with all your folks. Tell them, hey, you got to tell your life story or a portion of it,
Thanks for having me. And we'll talk about loans another day. And if anybody
for sure
finds value in this, feel free to reach out to me, send me an email, whatever the case is, and I'd be happy to discuss it.
Tell them whatever you want to tell them as far as shout yourself out. This is your moment, How do people reach you?
You can email me, CROCKER.TAYLOR @gmail.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have loan-wise, banking-wise, or just, personal-wise about personal experiences.
Cool. Now, do these people need to be Georgia residents to work with you?
Not necessarily. I'm from Florida, so if anything, I can always send them to my Florida credit union. I'll always find where there's a will, there's a way. So even if I can't help you to, do something for you on my end, if I can just direct you, in the right direction, hey, that's all I'm here for.
Awesome sauce. Okay, cool. All right. Well, everyone, again, thank you for listening. If you love this episode, leave a comment. It helps. And again, tell a friend. If you enjoyed this today, tell a friend, tell a family member. That's how this gets out. I'm not on social media like that. So, I'm kind of doing a grassroots thing where I ask my guests and people who listen to tell a friend, tell people that you know, and it grows from there. I've been getting some, I won't say interesting people, but I'm getting strangers, I got somebody who's listening in Australia. I got 2 people in Russia. I don't know what the story is there. But it's cool. Hey, whoever you are in Russia, awesome. Leave a comment. That's probably one of my biggest achievements thus far is just having people in other countries. I think that's cool. And Australian person, whoever you are as well. Leave a comment, hopefully you're a real person and you're not a robot. But anyhow, all right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and God bless.